And tonight, the Trump campaign is accusing Twitter and Facebook of censorship after the social media companies blocked the spread of an unverified story about former Vice President Joe Biden's son and a laptop allegedly full of his old emails.
Experts say it has all the hallmarks of information laundering.
This looks like your classic disinformation campaign.
Who do you think is behind this?
Well, the Russians would be my number one guess.
Twitter briefly suspending the accounts of the Trump campaign and White House press secretary after they tried to share it.
For a long time, Giuliani has been openly working to dig up dirt and promote disinformation on the Bidens. The Russian disinformation effort, which is well underway in these final days of the 2020 race. Russia is very actively engaged in a disinformation campaign in the 2020 election.
Russian disinformation.
Russian disinformation campaign.
Russian disinformation campaign.
Russian intelligence operation.
Russian misinformation to try to influence the American political process.
The Russian disinformation campaign in the U.S. presidential election.
Red alert, everybody. There is a code brown. This is not a drill, a code brown. President Joe Biden may have just fruited his looms yet again, this time live on camera. Now, many people believe maybe he was just trying to sit down and there wasn't a chair there. Maybe that's true. I happen to reject their reality and insert my own. And if you're Team Brown, leave a like on this video right now. I believe he did it. Also, yesterday, some bombshell news as the FBI has finally admitted what many of us have known for many years, that ends up being a huge boom for Trump. And his polling numbers continue to rise in the face of one of the dumbest backfires ever. And excellent news on the Georgia trial for President Trump. Lots to talk about in this morning show, so let's get right into it. I want to start, obviously, with Browngate. Code Brown. What can Brown do for you? We need to talk about this. We need to break down the footage. It's just 15 seconds. Now, you'll see Code Brown deniers like Viva Fry out here trying to cover up what I believe is one of the messiest moments of President Biden's career. By the way, I want to let everyone know, if you haven't yet, please tune into my live stream, 5:30 Eastern. If you're willing to, please get the app for Rumble. Go download it, follow the quartering. I'm live there every day at 5:30 Eastern. You don't have to watch all my standalone videos there, but at least tune into my live stream. If you absolutely don't want to, then there is Quartercast, where I dual stream most of the show on YouTube. So I'll leave both channels linked in the comment or in the pinned comment down below. Please do consider subscribing, getting the app today. Now, let's break down this clip. It's 15 seconds. I think we all put our science jackets on and our spectacles. We can get to the bottom of this potential number 2 scenario. Here we have Joe Biden, who ends up getting whisked off stage here almost immediately after this. Okay, we've got some music. I'm going to turn it off, okay? He turns, right there. Well, up, right there. Now, many believe at this exact moment, he believes that he's on a turlet, dropping his kids off at the pool, taking the Browns to the Super Bowl, laying some cable. However you may want to describe it, many are viewing it as that. Now, the number 2 deniers out there, like Viva Fry, says he thought there was a chair behind him and he was going to sit, and it seems Jill was telling him it's not quite time to sit. Let's see. Right there, I believe he is. We have touchdown. I think we have a full Code Brown going on right now. Jill says, "Don't sit down yet," allegedly. And Defense of the United States squish. He is definitely, almost certainly, slid into first and felt something burst. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, a lot, if we go super slow motion, you could almost see a look of relief on his face. Look at right there. See his mouth? He's like, Look, he's 81 years old. People over 80, 30% of them wear adult IDs. Now, I don't think there's any shame in that. If you live to be 80, you do what you want, you enjoy your life, you're playing with house money. The problem is, this is yet another example of Biden perhaps this is the third or fourth time that people have now thought that he has dropped a Duke. It's humiliating for the American people. It's humiliating for him. He's 81 years old. I mean, it's entirely possible that he just simply cannot control his faculties. Embarrassing. Right on the 80th anniversary of D-Day as well. Shout out to what those brave soldiers did that day, literally running into almost certain doom. It's hard to describe. I don't think, I think the level of bravery from kids, 18-year-old kids that day. But then things start turning. Once you go brown, right? What can Brown do for you? Well, apparently the Georgia court now has put an indefinite pause on old Fannie, speaking of Code Brown's, sweeping election case against Trump. The Georgia Court of Appeals has now set a tentative date of October 4th, which is after the election, to hear Trump's appeal. He just keeps winning. Now, I genuinely do not believe that this is going to be something that I don't think he was ever going to be found guilty of this. It was an incredible reach to try and pin something on him. It was a reach for fame by somebody who wears too much foundation on their face, who is corrupt, and gave a job to somebody, her little side piece or slam piece. The guy was giving it to her old school style-y. She's corrupt, a loser, and will always be a corrupt loser. And now she gets even more humiliation because, well, she's probably going to get removed from the case, a move that I actually don't support. I think she should stay on the case because who could possibly trust this loser? And she's so completely inept that it seems like the best chance to beat any potential charges there. But right now, the case has now been delayed indefinitely. And what's come of that? What's on the heels of that? Oh, well, we're going to look at polling numbers in a second. Trump's super PAC touts massive May fundraising, plans major ad blitz in battleground states. That's why this money matters. The money gives you ammo to go after contested states. I don't think Donald Trump needs to run a bunch of ads in Texas. He doesn't need to run a bunch of ads in Kentucky. He doesn't need to run a bunch of ads in Ohio. So where he needs to run ads is Minnesota, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, Pennsylvania, apparently New York. Any state that he thinks he can flip, he can run. He has an enormous war chest now to run all these ads. Now, I will say this much. I don't know if, how many people's minds are changed by ads on TV. That I just don't know that answer. I can't imagine, I've repeatedly said, hey, I think that this really isn't going to change a lot of minds. I don't think that this is, I think most people are pretty cemented in terms of what they want, out of their president. But a top Trump super PAC spotlights impressive haul last month, teases major ad campaign in key swing states this summer. I think he should also be spending money, in my opinion, on get out the vote. Get out there and vote. Tell people, vote, wherever. The minute you can vote in person early, you should do it. I'm going to be championing that for a very long time until the last possible moment, until election day. I don't see any reason why people can't or shouldn't be voting as soon as they can. Then you see Trump reaps post-verdict financial windfall. We already knew this. So he raised $53 million for a series of connected accounts in 24 hours after the verdict, putting his total at May for $141 million. To put that in perspective, that's twice as much as Trump operations said it raised in April, which was $76 million, which at that point was the most they'd ever raised. So the most Donald Trump ever raised was in April at $76 million, and then he doubled that, roughly, just under double that in the following month. Now, is that going to continue? Is he going to double again in June? I don't know. He'd probably need some pretty big donors. You know, somebody was talking about $100 million donation. I don't know if that's ever true, but money doesn't, again, for sure guarantee success, as Hillary Clinton outspent Trump significantly in 2016. So I think it's important to keep that kind of stuff in mind. Now, the Biden campaign had raised almost $195 million from the start of 2021, meaning he had a huge head start through April 2024 compared to Trump's more than $124 million. The Democratic National Committee has outpaced the Republican National Committee over that stretch too, $531 million to $497 million, but I'd call that basically even. I know it's hard to be like, $40 million isn't that big a deal, but it isn't that big a deal when you're talking about $500 million to $470 million. It's still a lot. You know, that extra $30 million, I'm not sure. And speaking of which, we can I always look at the betting odds rather than polling data, because these are people that, you know, are actually stand to lose money on this. What I thought was interesting is look how Gavin Newsom's in here. He just went up a penny to 6 cents odd. You can buy for 95 cents apparently. You have Kamala Harris. You're starting to see some of Biden backups. Joe Biden now just 47 cents to 51 cents. I mean, it's basically a coin flip at 47 to 51. But it's interesting to see how this is all going to shake out. Then yesterday, let's actually talk about the polls also. Then we're going to talk about the laptop. Lots to talk about in today's video. DJT's conviction was expected to sink him in polls. It has not. Former President Trump's chances of winning the 2024 election do not appear to have been significantly affected by the guilty verdict in his trial. We already know what happened, blah, 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 blah. While there were some polls that indicated he had been harmed by his felony conviction in a close race, there have been more recent surveys that indicate the trial has not damaged his hopes. An Issues and Insights poll published Monday revealed that Trump and Biden are tied at 41% in head-to-head matchups. This is actually an improvement for Trump, who was behind Biden in the same poll just a month ago, 42 to 40. So he's gained a point, and he's gained a point. Biden's lost a point. I still think he has a lot of ground to make up because, you know, obviously there's going to be a lot that's trying to work against him, I think, in this poll. So, you know, I want to see him continuing to be aggressive, continuing to, get people out there door to door, get them to motivate people. Then yesterday in the Hunter trial, in the president's son's trial, the FBI has now finally admitted, this is another big win for Trump, during the trial, that the laptop is in fact real. Kanoka the Great also shares, here's 20 minutes of Joe Biden, U.S. intelligence officials, and the American media claiming that the laptop was, quote, disinformation. The FBI has had possession of the laptop since 2019, 5 years ago. They've been actively covering up for the president. You know, that's just what, in my opinion, has been happening. Leading up to the election, Twitter and Facebook censored the laptop story because the FBI warned them of a potential hack and leak operation, even though the FBI knew that the laptop was real the entire time. In October 2022, Marco Polo published a 640-page report on the laptop that meticulously documented 459 crimes involving the Biden family and their associates. The report provides evidence of foreign agents, Registration Act violations, money laundering, tax fraud, and more, all found on the single laptop. It also reveals how federal law enforcement agencies influenced by politics protect the family. Shame on all those people for lying. I'm not going to watch the 20-minute video, but this was also shared by Elon Musk. You see Charlie Kirk. Don't forget the senior campaign advisor, Anthony Blinken. orchestrated the letter signed by 50 current and former intelligence officials to discredit the laptop, his election interference was richly rewarded with a Secretary of State post. All this stuff is now, coming to light as Trump now narrows his VP list to about 4 people. I still think it's not going to be, I still think JD Vance would be the best, in my opinion, but I don't think Trump's going to pick JD Vance. I think Trump isn't going to pick somebody that could potentially upstage him. And JD Vance is kind of a boisterous, high energy guy. I think he's going to probably pick somebody a little more muted, a little more, less bombastic, but I could be wrong. I definitely could be wrong. I think JD Vance is a great pick. I absolutely do, but you never know since he's just, quote, another white guy, so you never really know how that's going to shake out. Let me know who you think Trump's VP is going to be. He's got the narrow, I think, what was it, Rubio? Actually, if I look like, I think it was predicted, right? If we look at vice president, let's see what they say. So let's go to the markets. Republican vice president nominee. Right now, Tim Scott remains the leader. I wouldn't hate Tim Scott. It'd be fine. Doug Burgum, which is crazy to me. JD Vance. Marco Rubio just went up. Elise Stefanik, which was on his short list. So they're still predicting Tim Scott by a large margin. I think JD Vance would be better to try and go after some of the Midwestern states, but it'll be interesting to hear Tulsi Gabbard. I know Six Hexenhammer thinks Tulsi. I don't think he's going to pick Tulsi. We'll have to see. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Hope to see you tonight at 5:30 Eastern over on Rumble. Download the app, follow the quartering, and or my Quartercast channel. Both will be linked in the pinned comment down below. Please go subscribe, and we'll talk to you again real soon.